How's it going? Um, so I really wanted to make my next couple of videos just talking about cool things and, things that were exciting, new decks, here's how to beat the meta, and then Final Fantasy revealed the June promo. And on the surface, maybe, this doesn't seem that bad overall. Why am I so up in arms about this that I'm making a video that maybe three people in the world actually have a say in? And the reason why is I actually think this is maybe one of the most directly damaging things for the game they could have possibly done. And it really sucks because I love Final Fantasy TCG, and I know that making a couple video where I was talking about wins in a weird spot right now, and also there's a lot of cards that I really have issues with, and I will play the game regardless of those issues. I still like my win decks. I still generally enjoy playing the game and the format as a whole. But this is something that I think will actively drive a lot of very important people away from the game. And I want to talk about it a little bit in case someone from Hobby Japan or Square Enix happens to check my channel. So a little bit of context here. If I go on Materia Hunter, and I should have pulled this up, there is a promos page. And if you go through, there are monthly promos. And generally, I would say they do a really good job of picking these. Looking at Medine, I think is a great choice. Finish the cycle with Arc. Lock is a card that was actually really expensive for a rare, especially in foil. It's the cornerstone of one of the best decks of recent formats. Fina is one of the reasons to play mono. Win, super, super cool card. Fenrir is, a lot of people are like, why Fenrir? But it is a card that I could see rotating in and out of decks for perpetuity. It is a free summon with relevant text. I'll get to Amaterasu in a little bit. I think Amaterasu actually is one that I'm not particularly excited about. I get what they're going for on it. Arciela, beautiful art, super playable card that did not really get the treatment. Reeve, great card, saw a whole bunch of play. You go down the list, and all of these are really, really nice cards, that have seen a fair amount of competitive play. I think the big dud of a decision is you have to go all the way down to Sin, which is October 2022. I think every other promo they chose since then is pretty justifiable. These are all really playable, interesting cards that get people excited to go to locals, right? And play games, which is the entire purpose of organized play promos. Is you want to give people an excuse to go out every single week to hang out with a bunch of nerds in a card shop and play the game and get excited to play. It was a big joke, actually, in the local DFW Discord group that when Fina was announced, they were actually delayed coming to our shop. And so every day in the Discord, I would type WF and tag the store owner as a joke. And everybody, understood, hey, this is Ghoul excited and having fun. But that's what it was. It was me, I was drumming up excitement for the set. And sure enough, the Finas came in. I've got my, lovely playset here of full art Finas now. But, that was what was, really exciting. And again, these are things that keep me coming back to the shop every single week and playing, beyond just the fact that, the community is incredible and I enjoy spending time with them. And I think printing Ashe is actively a bad decision. It's probably too late now, but if they have a time machine to go back in time and or if they could just destroy these and print a different promo, I think it would actively be more healthy for the game to do so. Why am I saying that? Well, the rules for promos as we understand them are pretty simple. They can't do a mono art because mono arts are additional licensing fees. And they don't want to do legends because legends get printed in boxes as legacy reprints when they need to be printed in full art. Which I think are actually really fair rules. And it's cool because it gives a lot of cards that see play that people would be excited to have. Again, this lock is the best card in 6. Fina is one of the best cards in Wind. These are super, super powerful, cool cards, right? Lightning is really defined Ice Lightning for a while. And so we get a chance to get these cards that are super, super meta-defining and super powerful in full art, which is really cool. But Ashe is different because Ashe is in Opus 18 as a full art already. And that causes problems. The there's kind of been an unspoken rule that when you buy a full art, generally that full art won't get reprinted, which means if I really enjoyed playing Mono Water, I would be okay to go on TCG Player and buy a playset of full art Ashe at, what was probably before this reprint, a $15 card, which by most TCG standards, $15 is not a ton. But I feel very confident when I buy full arts that they're not going to be reprinted. And if they are reprinted, they'll be reprinted in non-foil, which is great. It means that people that want to play it can get to the non-foils, out of an anniversary box or a starter deck or something. But the people that are spending the most money and the most excited to play the game have a reason to buy product and play the game. This Ashe breaks that rule, which is a very scary precedent to set going forward. And I'll be honest, I don't really understand why. So, Ashe is not an expensive card. This is TCG Player. I can get a full play set of Ashe for under $1. If you don't have Ashes, and you're at any event that I'm at, and you let me know in advance, I can give you a playset of this card. I have dozens and dozens and dozens of playsets of this card sitting at home because I opened just gobs of Opus 18. Right? So she doesn't need the reprint for playability purposes. And I do think that reprints are super important. I think that a lot of players want to get into the game, and I don't think they should be gated from playing Fire because Amaterasu was a $30 card for some reason. But this isn't that. This is not an expensive card. It's only played in one deck. And I would say that if you want to get access to this card, it's very easy to do so. So what's the benefit of printing this as a full art? And I'll be honest, I don't think there really is one. And it really bothers me because there actually were really good cards they could have chosen that would not damage their full art reprints on the market. And I think at the end of this video, I've got a list of 3 cards in every color that I would use as full arts going forward. Hobby Japan, Square Enix, if you want to just take this list and just transpose it over the next year or so, that would be a-okay with me. It would make probably a lot of people really, really, really happy. And actually, put your what card you would want as a full art reprint in the comments below. Let's talk about these. Let's get a list for Square Enix just to use. Let's make this as productive and excitable as we can. And the reason I talk about this is Amaterasu is weirdly kind of like the exception to the rule so far. And Amaterasu came in Opus 12 and immediately was expensive. This card reached prices of up to $30, and they decided when they had the original full arts that came in the set, because this is new art for the TCG by Gen Kobayashi, they said, hey, this is like the most played card in the game. Let's use this as our event promo for 2022. Which is great. It means that now they sort of got people to play. They gave them access to a really expensive card that was going to go in a whole bunch of decks. And there's a reason to travel to all these events in 2022 when organized play was just starting to kind of trickle back into the game a little bit. But I will say that was a little scary because they did print a full art again. And Amaterasu, from then on, still needed a reprint. And I've said this before, but now I'm going to do the thing where I'm going to go on TCG Player. The place to reprint Amaterasu was not as this. This was not healthy for the game. Granted, like, getting access to Amaterasu was great, but if they wanted to lower the price of Amaterasu, the place to do so was inside something like this. This is Custom Starter Set Final Fantasy X. And this is significantly below MSRP. And this is not a new product. This is a product that has been sitting on shelves now for over 2 years at this point. And the reason why is because all of the cards in it, except for the full art Tidus cover card, are available in higher rarity elsewhere. So if you want to get access to the card, sure, it's great for that. But now we start ending up in a situation where, because the price on this tanked so hard, so quickly, again, MSRP for this is supposed to be $30. And on TCG Player, at its lowest, it was like $12 for a copy. I don't know if I can go to view more data and actually show some of those sales. But that's a really dangerous spot for a card to be. or for this to be, because what happens is you start having stores with unsold inventory, and when they can't move inventory, they can't buy new product, and when they can't buy new product, they stop carrying it. And all they needed to do to make these have a better chance at moving was to throw one copy of Amaterasu in this. And there's a fire part of the deck. It would be totally fine and make sense to put a copy of Amaterasu in this. Okay, well, maybe like Opus 16, they want to reprint an Opus 12 card. Opus 17, the FF4 starter. Let's look at that real quick. I think it's Cecil. Cecil versus Golbez. Okay, this is recovered in price a little bit. But, like, at one point, this was a $20 box. And it's taken a year to hit MSRP. That's atrocious for something like this. And one of these is Fire Earth. It would have made sense to put Amaterasu in this. Amaterasu was already expensive. They knew it. They knew it was going to be a 3F for the foreseeable future. This was the place to put one copy of Amaterasu. Doesn't need to be a playset. Doesn't need to be two. One copy of Amaterasu in this. And all of a sudden, you increase the supply just a little bit, and you love tap the price of Amaterasu down while bumping the price of these by increasing the expected value of each of these as you open them, and giving new players a reason to be excited to open your starter sets. And then established players, when they buy the starter sets, it's good for them because they get trade fodder with the newer players that helps get those new players into the game. It's a win-win for everybody when they find good ways of printing cards like this into starter sets like this. And I think that, like, if that's the case, I don't think this ever would have been a $16 product, because at $16, it would have been worth it to open it for just the Amaterasu inside, pull the Amaterasu out, and you have 100 extra cards that sit there. So it sounds stupid, but this is what they needed to do, not potentially make Amaterasu a scary card for the long term. And Mist Dragon, I am okay with event promos like this. I think Mist Dragon was a great choice for the event promo this year. If they want to do Kusith next year, I think that one would make a lot of sense as like a staple card that just will never leave play, that is super, super valuable, and people may want access to foils of it in the future, right? So with that all in mind, I think we're coming up on probably 15 minutes in the video. 12 minutes. I'm going to go through, and I'm going to say 3 cards from every element that I think should have been the full art. So, again, Ashe, not a very expensive card. Tros. I think Tros would have been the best card they could have picked. It's a hero from Opus 16, which is just now becoming a more scarce set. The art's not anything super, super fancy, but this whole cycle of monsters is incredible. I would love to see like one of them immortalized, and this is like the only one they can do, because Atomos and Biblos, the two other good ones in this cycle, are both a mono art, and I don't think that they can license a mono art, or Sarah would have been a full art promo a long time ago by now. I think Leviathan EX is another one. This might not seem like a huge deal, but this card was for a long time about $2 or $3. And foils are still $10. And this is a card that basically is just completely gone out of print. You can't get access to this card anymore. And it actually is a card that still continues to see play to this day. Out of every Opus 1 summon, it's kind of funny that this is the one that's stuck. But it turns out that when you have Yuna on the field, 2 CP, return any forward to its hand, including your own, along with an EX burst, is just generally a decent enough utility card. Lastly, Cucullin. This is a common from Opus 9. It's a common. It's a common. $8.80 a copy. Every single water deck is running 3 copies of this card right now. It's a common. It's almost completely out of print. You can't get copies of it for less than $8. It's a common. This card should absolutely have a reprint at some point. And I think because it's so unlikely to rotate and going to see play for the foreseeable future, I think this would be an incredible full art monthly promo. I think the honorable mention here goes to Amatarasu, which I think would be a really cool art to have on a full art card. So let's go through the rest of them. So in order, Fire. I know we have a Fire summon in full art already, but I think this Ifrit is just a card that I don't see how much better you can really get on a 1-cost Fire summon. So I think this card will see play for the foreseeable future. I think it'd be really cool to have as a full art. Tyvas. This is the boss monster of the breakout deck of Opus 21, or one of them anyway. I think this card is super, super cool. It's super playable. The pose is awesome. I think this would be an amazing full art. Lastly, I don't know how difficult it is to license 14. You'll notice there aren't any original arts for 14 characters. There's no 14 full arts. The Y'shtola is a weird case because the Y'shtola is a Dissidia art that was commissioned for Dissidia specifically, not for Final Fantasy XIV. But Alphino is a rare from Opus 12 that is currently about $12.50, and getting this card in foil is effectively impossible. And I think it's a card that, because Alize and the Scion Engine are so powerful, you want access to, and there's not a great place to reprint this. It's not a very generic card. Like, it shows up in, like, Gigawall and Scions and, I guess, like, Magissa decks. But I think it'd be a great full art. Alphino is my favorite 14 character, so maybe I'm a little biased here. There's definitely, like, there's other options on all of these. But if they wanted to just take this list and print them, I don't think there's too many people that would complain about a card this playable and this universal getting reprinted. For Ice, I want Emina in full art more than just about any card. I think this is a card that will never leave the card game for as long as it exists. This is... I love hollowing my mana bases. I love fancy mana bases because they're cards that go in a lot of decks. Every deck, you know, forwards are going to come and go. They're going to print better forwards. But Emina, Norstalin, Sarah, Claris, these are cards that just will never see play, or never leave play. And Emina is so generic and so powerful, and the art's great, and I actually really like the effect of this hollow stitching on it. I would love to see this in a full art promo. Another one, Reno. We have a lot of support for Turks lately, and Rufus is our promo for, or one of our organized play promos for the year. Let's give Reno a nice full art to go with it. FF7's super popular. Reno's a really popular character. I think it'd be a really, really cool choice. And then lastly, the Ice Boss Monster is a rare from Opus 18. Again, it's not an expensive card. Even in foil, it's, you know, it's $3 in foil. Wow, that's some money I did not know I had. But yeah, this is like the most important card to any Ice deck right now. And this card's incredible. It's super generic. It does a lot of cool things. You have to kind of build around it a little bit. This card on damage 5 is one of the most oppressive cards in the game. It's so difficult to get around. I really think this would be a great card to have in full art. I think this would be a great choice. For Wind, it's a little tricky. I mean, obviously, we'll get this out of the way. Apparently, I didn't pull him up. I thought I had him somewhere in the tab, and I must have accidentally deleted it. Actually, I had her... I know I pulled her up. Did I not bring her over there? I guess we'll start with Tidus. I think Tidus is a great card. Saw a whole bunch of play. It was the breakout card of one of the coolest decks in Opus 21. People might not have bought the starter deck. I think that, you know, again, Final Fantasy X is one of like those premier Final Fantasies. Super cool card. EX Burst. I think it'd be a great full art. Evere. Probably one of the best monsters of all time. And super cool, super simple effect. And every Wind player needs one of this. It shows up in generic decks as well as part of realm packages. Just a super cool, generic, cool card. Lastly, my other pick would be Lulu. I'm going to go ahead and pull her up. You might not know this, but Lulu is about a $3.50 starter card, which is actually relatively expensive. And then if we go to foils, she's a $23 foil. I think this is a card that absolutely would not harm the game with reprint equity. And again, this is a really, really playable card. 3 CP, get back a summon is just powerful. I think every Wind deck, for as long as Lulu remains in the game, will have to consider her as an option because of just the sheer amount of utility toolboxing any summon any breakstone provides. You could alternatively, you could choose Luso. I think Luso would be a great choice for this slot. If we're not going to ban Luso, let's make him a full art. Same for Zidane. If we're not going to ban Zidane, let's full art him. But like Lulu is a card that hasn't had the full art. You know, I think it would be. I would go for Lulu over Luso and Zidane. I think she's the safest one to leave in the game long term. Next up, Claris. I love hollowing my mana bases. I want to have the coolest, shiniest mana bases I can. Claris is a card that actually needs the reprint. 25 cents low was listed for a card that I think was even in a starter deck. It's crazy for a rare. And then we scroll down, and then foil, there's 2 total cards on the marketplace at $6 a pop. It's from Opus 11, which is an impossible set to actually find. I think this would be an incredible full art. Would open up a lot of players at locals to be able to play new decks they haven't had access to in the past. And it would give people like me I would be excited to try to earn this card. Kedar Bashtar. This is kind of the cool build-around card from the new set as far as Earth cards. I think the art's amazing. I think it would look great in full art. Lastly, this one I have a little bit of bias for, but Ignis's art is super, super cool. The bottom of it's cut off a little bit. I'm curious now. Is this episode Ignis? Episode Ignis art. I'm trying to see if I could find this art. Yeah, no, there is like a nice bigger version of this art that they could probably use. Maybe they can't get around the episode Ignis in the bottom, in which case just use a different full art. That's fine. That wouldn't be a problem. But yeah, I think this card would be fantastic in full art. And this card's not a Retainer Storm card. It's a super generic card. Shows up in every Mana Earth list. Shows up in every Retainer list. Shows up in a whole host of awesome, cool Earth decks. Just because of how good the utility is on it. It's forward recovery and a break spell all at the same time. It's almost like kind of replacing Roble in a way, which I think is really cool. For Lightning, I don't like this card, but Raijin is the best Lightning card probably for a long time. I think this would be a really cool card to see on full art. Alternatively, I think that this Ace is a really sleeper card for the future. Next set, we know we're getting a full art Queen. They're probably going to print more Type 0 cadets, or Class 0 cadets. If they keep printing Class 0 cadets, this card will find a home someday. I'm like super, super convinced of that. And if they're confident in that, put this in full art. And again, this is one of those cards that I think actually looks really, really like subtly nice in full art. I think it'd be a great pick. And then lastly, did you know Grahatia was $6? Because I didn't know that. I was not aware. This is probably one of the most popular Scions, period. People adore this character. And this card is really playable. It's really cool. It's really powerful. Does a lot of interesting things. I think it would be a great full art. Yeah, like, why is this not somewhere? Like, this absolutely should be a full art. Again, maybe the 14 full art stuff isn't really something they can do, but I would love to see this one done. And then, I've done water already when I talked at the start of the video, so let's go into Light and Dark. Oracle of Light is $5 for a starter deck card. And if you want a foil, she's $30. I love this art. I think this is I love this character. I love this art. And I think this would be a great card to get 14 players excited to play again. Is this card super, super playable? It's up and down a little bit. I think it's fallen off quite a bit in most Scion builds lately. But I still could see a world where you would conceivably play this card again. So I think that like this card probably does need the reprint alongside the Urion J in the starter deck is also extremely expensive. But like one of those would be a great full art promo. And then lastly, I think any of the hero limit break cards would be a fantastic choice. I think that Shantoto, everybody's going to need one copy of her. I think that Victoria is going to see a lot of play for quite a while. But so many people need so many copies of Leela. This card is not played to the field super often, and she's still almost a $2 card just because it's optimal to have multiple copies of Leela if you can have them. And in foil, she's $3.50. So I think this is a card that absolutely would be a great full art. The card's really cute too, which also goes a long way. I like my cards looking cool. So that's my talk. I'm really, really sorry. I promise I'm gonna try to. I will do my best to stick to things I'm excited about. Like the upcoming Materia Cup. I've got a really cool deck profile that I'm recording in the near future with the winner of the Dallas Fort Worth Store Championship. We're going to talk about what the heck Retainer Warrior of Darkness is and why that's a cool deck. So, give me a thumbs up, give me a like. And we did hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube, by the way, so I meant to talk about this, but sometime probably after limit break, I will be doing a YouTube only live stream for the first time ever, where I will not be streaming to Twitch. We're going to talk Final Fantasy. We're going to play Final Fantasy. I will do a from scratch deck build of a build around of some kind. I need to actually find a card that I want to build around for that I haven't cooked with already, because goodness knows my Materia Hunter folder. I'm very sorry, Bacon, that I probably am taking up at least 1% of your server space with deck lists by now. But yeah, I think that this would go a long way. Thanks so much for watching. Hobby Japan, if you're watching this, please take this. I really do love Final Fantasy. I would love for this game to continue for as long as you guys want to print cards. And I think that these are things that would help us to have the game have the same kind of longevity that I think a card game should or could have. Yeah, thanks for watching.